Hey everyone, Chris Sawyer here. Welcome back to the Varietal Show. Here we are. We're sitting here in someplace different. This is Telluride. You're right. We're here in Colorado. This is really happening, you guys. And this wine that I've got with me right here is the dry Riesling. This is from an amazing vineyard up here called the Cellar. And this is my great friend, Steese. Steve and I, before he started this winery with his wonderful wife, Jayme, the reason that we knew each other was because we're sommeliers. And Steve being the great sommelier of Denver, one of the best that there was, and same thing with Jayme, being really respected sommeliers and consultants and helping restaurants thrive. We met originally at Rodney Strong Winery in Sonoma County, and it was for that wine auction, and we became buddies, and we have followed each other ever since. And I got the chance to really start following these guys and this brand, which debuted here 3 years ago. 3 years ago at the Telluride Wine Festival, because he came here with me to really present this, and we did a great show some years ago on being a sommelier and why would you ever think of starting to make wine. So let's tell that story to everyone else. What the hell were you thinking, Steve?
We probably get that question, Jayme and I do, asked about more than any others, and I wish that I had this set in stone, conclusive moment, this decisive moment where it happened, but it was really just that we knew we needed a new thing. We knew we needed a new adventure. One of the jokes we kind of make, so I was not just a sommelier for many years, I was a nightclub DJ for many years, and wiki scratch, yep. And I know that sounds like a strange correlation parallel, but if you think about what either of those two professions are doing, what does a somm do? You look at all the wines in the world and you try and whittle it down to whatever wine list it is you're running. What does a DJ do? You look at all the music out there in the world and you whittle it down to your set for the night. It's like you're a professional curator of these amazing things that other people have done, but we were tired of being the curators, and we wanted to be the creators. We wanted to be back on the forefront. We wanted to be the ones making it, and that was a big impetus for us.
Yeah, and it was great to see your progression. So, today we did a great seminar with this. This is a dry Riesling. In my opinion, one of the finest in America right now, and especially from an area that's a little bit different. So tell everyone a little bit about West Elks. In this special area there that is about 2 hours north here of Telluride.
2 hours north of where we are. It's this one of two AVAs here in Colorado. Certainly the primary AVA in Colorado is called the Grand Valley. It's the area around the towns of Palisade and Grand Junction, and that is without a doubt the core of the Colorado wine industry. But there's a small AVA off to the side of that. Only 10 wineries, small vineyards, mostly mom and pop owned and run and operated, but it is unique grape growing situations. Our vineyard is almost at 6,000 feet, super high elevations. There are vineyards in our AVA.
Wait, did you guys all hear that? 6,000 feet.
6,000 feet.
Moving on.
We can take a pause and really let that sink in for a minute. We did our research when we bought the property. We had an idea of what kind of farming we wanted to do, and then you get there and realize that none of the books, none of the rules, none of those things apply to what you're doing. So you throw your books over your shoulder and you go out and talk to the people in the valley that are doing it and say, how are you guys pulling this off at 6,000 feet? What are your challenges? What's happening? I had spent some time with the Catena family staying at their property down in Vendemmia in Argentina, and they're obviously the world's pioneers of high elevation viticulture, but that's really the only place in the world other than the vineyards within 10 or 15 minutes of us that are farming any grapes at 6,000 feet. So it's the fringe, the absolute fringe of where grape growing is possible.
So we did a seminar today on high elevation wines, and so I brought in a bunch from Sonoma and Napa counties. I mean, it was great to have Chapelet there, and Mount Brave, and the great Acumen winery, and also the Rowan wines from Sonoma County. Mm-hmm. But to be really honest, trying to explain how high they are. So here we are in the town of Telluride. If we got on the gondola and we went up to All Reds, which is where we like to have cocktails and stuff, That's about 1,500 feet, just getting on the gondola going up there. But we're already at 9,000 feet, people. This is not small change here. And this is 6,000 feet that makes, Sonoma and Napa counties look pretty small, pretty tiny. When you consider that, our highest vineyards are about 2,500 feet. We're at 6,000 where these grapes are grown, and we're sitting here at 9,000, going up to 10,000 shortly. It's an amazing thing, and this is a great. This is why we chose to do this wine today for the show and for the seminar. Spotlight this one is because it's a high elevation one. It even says it there, high elevation wine. Yeah, it says it on the label. It better be. But also it says dry. So when we think about Riesling, and Riesling to us as sommeliers, we love Riesling. But there's a great number of people out there that appreciate, and one of the reasons they appreciate so much is because of experiences they've had with fine cuisine. And when I think about it, I think about sushi, and I think about Vietnamese cuisine, and I think about things that can go there. But we talked a lot about soups and salads and all sorts of things, and even doing this with a steak. And no one says you can't, and that's the wonderful thing. It says dry, but does that mean it's completely bone dry?
It is not completely bone dry. To put dry Riesling, so we don't use the official International Riesling scale on our back, but we certainly follow their guidelines as far as how we talk about dry Riesling. Dry Riesling is an interesting phrase. If you have a bone dry Riesling, it is so bracingly dry often that it's shocking. You have to very often have at least a couple grams, if not even a few more, of residual sugar to balance out what it is that Riesling has in spades, which is ripping natural acidity, especially when you grow at 6,000 feet. Those cool nights already are a magnifying lens on natural acidity, which Riesling has already. So how do we talk about it? It's a sliding scale. There are two factors involved, two wine geeky factors. One is RS, that is residual sugar, the actual amount of sweetness that is still in the wine. The other factor we're talking about is TA, which is titratable acidity, which is sort of a comprehensive measure of all the primary acids in wines: tartaric acid, citric acid, malic acid. So basically how it works is if the grams per liter of titratable acidity are greater than or equal to the grams per liter of residual sugar, we can call it dry. So this wine has, for example, maybe 2.5 grams residual sugar.
This wine.
2.5 grams residual sugar, about 7.2, 7.3 grams titratable acidity. So a very classically styled layout for sweetness and acid in a dry Riesling.
Absolutely. And, so you make Riesling, you make a variation of Rieslings there, and you also make rosé. And so this is a very special one. So, in California, we're talking, Pinot Noir rosé or Malbec rosé, or, sometimes you get some Gamay rosé, or something else. This is St. Vincent. Have you ever heard of St. Vincent, you guys? This is the rosé of St. Vincent. This is a specialty grape of America. Tell us a little bit about this grape.
Sure, it is native to the United States, a spontaneous natural hybridization of Pinot Noir and Chambourcin that crossed in the vineyard about 40 years or so ago in Missouri, native to Missouri. It's grown across the American Midwest. It's getting some national and international attention, and I know it's being planted other places. It has had some issues. It's been susceptible to leaf roll virus and a few other things which have made it a little problematic. But it has certainly proven both able to withstand some colder temperatures and able to produce some amazing fine wines, both in a rosé or full-on red wine version.
And we were talking about it before we went on the air about how it's got this cherry kind of flavor, but also pomegranate, and you made me start thinking about pomegranate chicken and Armenian style with the spices and everything. This has got some tannins in it. This is a rosé with some body and some structure. You got a lot of stuff going on in this glass.
Yeah, and that is all grape tannin, no wood tannin there at all. But we wanted this wine to have a little grip. We wanted to be able to cut through the richest and the heartiest of summertime cuisines. We've served this with everything up to a marble prime ribeye, and it can stand up to any of those things. It is proving to be an incredibly versatile food pairing wine for us.
Yeah, you know what this reminds me of, or makes me want to, is you have paella, which is great, but inky paella with, where it's really kind of got that dye with it too, and it's a little bit bigger and it's a little bit stronger, and your sausage that you're using in there is a little bit spicier. It can take all that on, and it can also be great with seafood. I mean, I'm thinking about a lot of stuff. Bouillabaisse, that kind of a soup would be genius with this. I mean, you guys would be total geniuses if you got bottles of this and you had a bouillabaisse soup. I mean, it's really legit. But the thing is, this is an American grape, so we're talking about French cuisine with an amazing wine made in Colorado with a grape that hardly anyone outside of America knows anything about, but it's delicious.
Yeah, we were excited. We made it for the first time last year. 2019 was the first vintage we made this rosé. It was a total hit at the tasting room, smash hit at a bunch of Colorado's best restaurants. We put it in the San Francisco International Wine Competition last November and tied for the highest rated varietal rosé in the world, 95 points and a double gold medal in San Francisco. Last year on the 19 vintage, this is the 20, just went into its first competition, which is the Colorado Governor's Cup, and just rated the highest rated rosé in Colorado this year.
Unbelievable.
So 2 years in a row, it's been a smash hit for us for sure.
Yeah, and we did a show on this on Instagram Live, which I got to do with them a while ago, and we certainly had fun. I loved getting this in the mail. It was so great, and believe me, I was drinking it, and tomorrow I get to pour it here because he has to go back and do this thing called be a winemaker, and actually do what he's supposed to do, and I'm supposed to be doing this for a bunch of people to make them go, oh my God, what is this? And so it's just a great brotherhood, that Steve and I have, and it's just nice to share it with you. It's also nice to show Steve off and what him and Jayme are doing there here in Colorado, and especially in West Elks. I mean, this area, how many acres of vineyards are planted there?
About 60.
About
total
60 acres.
In the whole AVA.
That's a little small versus Sonoma County, you guys, and even
we talk about
pretty much anywhere in California.
There are plenty of vineyards in California that are bigger than the entire Colorado wine production by a large margin. So it's perspective.
Yeah, it is perspective. But I hope you guys got a perspective on Colorado, and amazing people are dedicating their lives to making awesome wines that with respect to place. And I think that's really what this is. Both these wines are special in so many ways, and they're just neat, and they're just different, and you know what? They're delicious. So you can find them at the Storm Cellar website, and please check them out. These are awesome wines. What do they retail for? What's the dry Riesling retail for?
They're actually both $25 a bottle.
$25 a bottle, you guys. Come on. You got to get your hands on some too, because I'm drinking it. I'm going to drink it all if you don't. So amazing stuff. Thank you once again, Steve, for being here in Telluride with me, but also what you and Jayme do. Keep up the great work, and I can't wait to taste more vintages to come.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks for joining into the Varietal Show. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Chris.
You got it.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Now that's good.